11/27. Today is November 18th, 2011. The commissioners present today, Tom Santino and Judge Edwin Torres. Okay, then we're going to move on to, which is a discussion on the pending license application. And because we required to deliberate, and this discussion is of personal medical information, I move that we move to executive session.
Second that motion.
Second the motion. Gentlemen?
So that being said, let us proceed and repair to executive session. So we're back on the record, aren't we?
I think so.
All right.
Okay, so
Madam Chairperson.
here's the deal. I'm actually going to read this because I don't want to leave anything out, and I just keep making more notes here. New York State Athletic Commission's primary objective is to safeguard the health and the life safety of all the athletes who compete under its jurisdiction. The NYSAC members therefore carefully considered all the arguments and testimony presented in Wednesday's evidentiary hearing. And today, we are noting our multiple concerns regarding multiple and serious injuries to Mr. Margarito's right eye. And to better address the matter raised during the hearing, and to meet our commitment to ensure the comprehensive and thorough evaluation of his application, we are directing Mr. Margarito to submit as soon as possible to a medical exam by a doctor of New York State Athletics Commission's choosing. This one will enable NYSAC to fully ascertain the totality of Mr. Margarito's medical condition and his fitness to be in the ring. The Commission will ensure that the examination and a subsequent decision will be rendered as expeditiously as possible. So, therefore, the Commission is going to direct you, Mr. Moroso, to contact his client, contact your client, and report back to the Commission with a response. And I'll also direct the Commission to immediately undertake some steps to identify a physician. You got an hour.
Pardon?
You have an hour
To speak?
to contact your client, to find out if he's willing to submit to this examination by our physician.
Okay, I'll do so right now.
Very good. Pardon? Do you know
Do I know what?
what he's going to say? You already know?
No, I don't know. I need to speak with him.
You didn't. I just wanted to make sure.
All right, yeah.
So what's the mechanism for
Okay.
that?
So
Recess for
we're
that,
gonna-
or are you gonna do it, go outside? How are we gonna do that? How are you gonna communicate?
I'm going to
You're
call.
going to make a
Mexico.
phone call, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
in Mexico.
This was unexpected for us, so I'll make the appropriate calls immediately and
Okay.
get back to you.
Okay,
Right,
very
good.
good.
Great.
That's great.
We have-
I think they're just trying to ascertain, do you need an hour or do you need less?
Is it a New York doctor that he has to physically come and see?
Yes,
All right, well, he's in Mexico.
that's okay.
You're asking
So-
for an hour as to what our
I'm
response is?
asking
Yes,
for
that's
a
all.
response.
Do you, and I'm just asking, do you need an hour for the response or less? It's
I
up to
don't,
you.
I don't.
Okay, so
Mr.
we'll take an
Margarito.
hour.
Okay, just
Okay.
for the record, Mr. Margarito is in Mexico training. I will need to call several people to try to reach him, and I will do so immediately.
Very
Okay,
good,
great.
thank you. At this point, the meeting is going to go into recess until you get back.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Or maybe we should do it on the record. The questions were, when we call Mr. Margarito and discuss these issues, you want him to come to New York to be examined by a doctor
Correct.
here? Do you have a timing expectation for that?
ASAP,
Okay.
Are your doctors available over the weekend to get this done?
yes.
Do we know which doctor and?
We don't know yet, but we'll make sure, we'll do the best we can. We just reached this conclusion.
Okay, and is there anything specific in addition to the medical information we have provided that we need to also bring
No.
with us? It's just
No.
a physical examination?
Just want the doctor to physically examine him.
Okay.
Including ophthalmologist, the eyes dilated and everything?
Exactly.
That's what we're getting.
Oh, good question. This is related to the eye.
This
Oh,
is
well,
total,
we-
this is not,
Total.
this is
Right.
not, this is total,
Total physical.
Okay, we understand.
okay?
We'll make the appropriate calls. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fire up the Gulf Stream.
Okay, so, okay. So we're going to recess and we're going to return in an hour's time. Okay.
For the last
Okay.
hour, we take your comments about safety to heart. As we mentioned on Wednesday, Mr. Margarito would never have even sought a license from this commission or any commission unless we were absolutely confident in his health and safety. That's why we went to Dr. Crandall and the John Moran Eye Institute in the first place. In direct response to your question, yes, Mr. Margarito will submit to an examination. We have nothing to hide. However, given the timing, we have a concern that we would like to discuss with the Commission. We're 2 weeks and 1 day from the fight. Mr. Margarito is at the height of his training right now in the mountains of Mexico. And having him fly from Mexico to New York and back to Mexico to complete his training at this time would be a massive interruption and disruption to his training at a critical juncture. It could be dangerous. For that reason, we respectfully request an alternative or a preliminary step to an examination. We suggest that the 4 doctors who testified before you on Wednesday, all very good doctors, you saw them firsthand. They're intimately familiar with this case. They reviewed his files. They know the papers better than anyone. Dr. Crandall is the only person, as you know, who has examined Mr. Margarito. That they caucus, the 4 of them together, and have your doctors ask any questions they want. It can be just the 4 doctors on the phone. They raised some questions during the hearing to which our doctors did not have the opportunity to respond. Questions about other incisions, questions about whether a certain type of scope had been performed. And perhaps our doctors can convince your doctors that Mr. Margarito is medically fit to box. And if so, we do not have to disrupt his training at this point. If your doctors are not persuaded and they remain resolute in their position, then we can work on the logistics of getting Mr. Margarito to submit to an examination.
Appears to me that form of suggestion would be an exercise in futility at this juncture. That's my impression.
Judge Torres,
We're spinning wheels. It's not going to, there'll be no variance, I can assure you, on either side. But go ahead, continue.
We heard
And for the
the,
record, we wouldn't be where we are today if we had had papers that were asked to be submitted way before we got them this time. We asked for this work, these papers, these exam papers. We asked that we get this process started back in September, I believe, somewhere around that date. I can't be absolutely sure, but it was a while ago. We asked that all of the paperwork be given to us so that we would not be here today at this point right now.
with all,
It did not happen that way. Did not happen that way. I was trying to avoid that, suggested that he get his medicals, suggested that he get his paperwork in so that he can get his license before anything happened, and so that if for some reason he were not deemed qualified or fit to be licensed, then you could have an alternative available if that happened. But that didn't happen, and so here we are today in a position where we don't wish to be, where it's totally unfair for my commission to be put in this position, and I'm just as pissed off as anybody else, to be very honest with you.
I understand. We certainly didn't want to put the commission in this position, and Mr. Margarito doesn't want to be in this position. The paperwork was, the medical paperwork, I should say, was originally submitted to the commission in September, and there were a tremendous amount of informal discussions, including discussions between your doctors, both Carreri and Giovanazzi.
We never got everything we asked for.
I don't respectfully disagree, but that's neither here nor there from our perspective. We are in a situation now, and if that's viewed from the commission as some delay on our part, we obviously disagree with that. Our doctor has been in multiple conversations with your doctors in late September, in early October. He was available for an examination.
We did not get everything until October 31.
That you did not get the final piece of
Correct.
paper until then.
So we did not have everything prior to that date.
There were a number of discussions if Mr. Margarito
But we
had
did
been
not
asked.
have everything prior to that date.
If the position of the commission is that it is declining our alternative because we've somehow improperly delayed in
One has
submitting-
nothing to do with the other.
Okay, fair enough. And with in response to your question, Judge Torres, we certainly did not see any wavering on behalf of your doctors when they testified. They were confident in their opinions. That said,
And they're both ringside physicians.
correct. That said, in post-hearing conversations with our doctors had very specific responses to some of the things that your doctors raised during the hearing. Given the way that the hearing resolved, we did not have the opportunity to have our doctors respond. I don't think it's an unreasonable request to ask the doctors to caucus today. We could have it done today. It might take some logistics. These are four very busy doctors. And have those questions answered. If our doctors are successful, terrific. Then you have your medical advisory board approve it. If not, and I understand it might be an exercise in futility.
Counsel, I believe what you proposed, there must be an end to litigation. This would start a back and forth exchange, and we proceed into infinity. So personally, I feel that you should address the next question. Is he coming in?
I answered the question directly, he will, but if I may, we're not suggesting a long back and forth at all. Caucus between the doctors today or tomorrow. Report to you immediately thereafter.
I think it's a needless and useless protraction of the events here. That's my opinion.
Is it?
Melvina, that's my opinion.
You stated, because we wouldn't be here, had you not stated at the end, I'm sorry, it was not you, but I believe it was Mr. Petrucelli, who stated that that final statement was that your doctor had an advantage over our doctors because our doctors did not actually hands-on examine Mr. Margarito. And that's what we're proposing. So that's why we're having this session, that's why we came to our conclusion this morning, to give you or us an opportunity to examine Mr. Margarito, give one of our doctors an opportunity to examine Mr. Margarito.
As I said,
Now, if we don't do that, then we're not answering the question, the very question that you brought up.
as I said at the beginning of my statement, in direct response, Mr. Margarito will submit to an examination We were just trying to,
The logistics.
and we'll deal with the logistics. We have a responsibility to him as well, just like you have a responsibility to your state and your sport. And we were trying to offer a preliminary step that might alleviate a severe disruption to his training at this time. And I take to heart, again, your comments that we might not be in this position had a formal application been submitted in September, as opposed to having just informal discussions at that time. I understand your point. I understand that you're upset. We don't want to be in this position either. But if there's even a 5% chance that our doctors could respond to your doctor's points and convince them, it's worth it to not disrupt his training and potentially place Mr. Margarito in a dangerous situation. We're not asking for a long back and forth. We're not asking for legal briefs to go back and forth. A phone call when 4 doctors could get on the line.
When we can't answer that right now, we'd have to discuss this. Again, this is being drawn out.
I think the
Mr.
lines have been
Mossberg.
drawn hard and fast. I reiterate, I think this would be an exercise in futility, and we're just protracting this thing endlessly. I think we should touch upon the question of where and when the examination, presupposing that Margarito's is gonna fly in, okay? What are the details of that?
Sure, do you want to have the logistics conversation?
No, not at all. If you're willing to begin that process, then I will ask
A recess?
Commission to be in touch with Mr. Moroso and arrange for the transport, or arrange for whatever logistics may be, and then get back to us.
We certainly can do that, Chairwoman Langton.
Okay, and if that's agreed upon,
It is. I'd like, so you're here and you don't think that we're baiting and switching, I'd like to make some comments to you and ascertain your views on them. Given what I said about the disruption of Mr. Margarito's training, I would ask the Commission's indulgence to make the examination occur, if at all possible, and we're willing to assist in the logistics at a place closer to Mr. Margarito's training. He's currently in the mountains of Mexico City, and to fly to New York is a great distance. We might be able to find a place more centrally located, closer to him.
that's not the rules. The rules were that we get a doctor of our choice, one of our doctors.
We're not, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. Once we arrive, or once we select a doctor, once you select a doctor,
We select. You mean provide transportation for the committee?
First class.
Yes.
I'm serious.
I'm
yes.
serious.
Okay, first class.
I could work with you as well to sort of see what the logistics would be on that and to see if it is both feasible and permissible under the current guidelines and regulations in New York. So obviously the Commission won't right now agree or commit to that, but since we have had a long dialogue before paperwork was submitted, you know, I'd be more than happy to work with you to see if we can get that done, if at all feasible and if at all possible.
and thank you. And as I can sense from your deliberations and the comments today, I think everybody, the Commission included, understands that time is of the essence. So we will make ourselves available after this hearing, over the weekend, whatever is necessary.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely. Okay?
2 weeks in 1 day, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
Gotta move on.
yeah. So, okay, then at this point,
Excuse me, one practical question, allow me, Melvina.
sure.
Let's say they meet midway, Ohio, what have you. Will not certain medical apparatus have to be available? Would you prefer?
Yes. What
You make those arrangements?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I think that wraps it up.
Any more questions, board?
No, I don't. So she wrote.
Okay, then, this meeting then will be adjourned, and, I guess a subsequent,
work it out.
pardon me? Okay, a subsequent, public notice will be, announced, and we'll try to
Work out logistics.
work that out. Counselor?
That's correct, Chairman, I think. Now there will be a motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I,
May I work with Mr. Mossberg and at least try to arrange a caucus among the doctors, even if it's not a formal requirement of the commission, even if it doesn't have any bearing on your decision?
I've said it 3 times. It's an exercise in futility as far as I'm concerned, but
Mr. Moroso, it's my understanding that all, or Doctors Giovinazzo and Crandall and Carrera has spoken previously, and as you heard Judge Torres's objection, I think it would be in the best interest of the commission and Mr. Margarito if you and I could immediately work on the logistics of the doctor as opposed to a caucus.
We could work on them in parallel. It just seems needlessly formalistic to preclude the doctors from speaking, given that I'm
they,
explaining that your doctors raised some points in their testimony that our doctors felt they might not fully understand, given that they only reviewed the papers.
so if they fully understand, then, and come to the same conclusions as our doctors.
At the same, well, I'll be working in parallel to have, then we would be in the same position we are today. And I would be working in parallel, no delay in our logistics with Mr. Mossberg. And if by some miracle, Dr. Crandall was able to convince Dr. Giovinazzo and Dr. Carreri, then we wouldn't gas up the jet, that's all.
And if by some miracle that does not happen,
That there's no convincing, then we'll, like I said, I'll be working with Mr. Mossberg on the logistics to have your doctor.
okay, then we'll just work on the logistics and forego the caucus. Since
No
we'll have to do
miracles
that
in the
anyway.
offing.
No miracles. So we'll just work on the logistics and reconvene at a later time.
Okay?
okay, that's it.
Thank-
Okay,
thank
I
you
make
for
a
your-
motion for this meeting to be adjourned.